Humiliating, degrading, embarrassing, just flat out embarrassing.
The Cavs were just swept by the Knicks last night. And normally I'd have some pithy opening. I would say go follow, go call the number. It's at the bottom of the screen, leave a voicemail. But Noah, I'm pissed off because it was embarrassing. I'm embarrassed that our team gave up. They quit. They showed no fight. They showed a lack of competence. I'm not an overreactor, but I think Kenny Atkinson has to go. There's so many points to touch on, and I want to get into it all with you.
Yeah, I want to get into it as well. And I think the best way to start this, because it just parlays into what you just said, is to listen what one Charles Barkley had to say about our team at halftime.
Starting tonight, Chuck has requested special time to begin the halftime report.
Special time? Yeah. Kids at home, if you want to see what the word quit means,
Oh, come on, Chuck.
to give up. The verb of that is Cavaliers.
Oh, come on.
This is what you see.
You
This
think
is,
they quit or the Knicks are just that good right now?
no, they were down 29. You know, Ernie.
Yeah.
That was that question you asked Shaq Kenny before the game. Like, players ain't gonna say they're gonna quit, but you know what shows? Their actions. You know, they're like, of course, they're like Lisa and Malik were talking about. You know, they're saying all the, you say believe. I believe they were going to get their ass whooped, and that's what's going to happen.
A lot of choice words from Charles Barkley, and I can't disagree with the man because he's not wrong. That's what this team looked like from front to back. When you lose by almost 40 points in an elimination game, you're embarrassing. You quit, you're ready to go to Cancun, you're ready to pack it in, and you're ready to be done. This is an indictment not only on the players, on the coaching staff, it's an indictment to an extent on anybody and everybody that was involved with the player personnel side of the Cleveland Cavaliers, because this is not worth it. Great, we made the Eastern Conference Finals. We finally got over that hump. You got swept and embarrassed. It doesn't feel any better if it's in the second round, the third round, the five. We got swept. We got embarrassed. That's what happened here. We couldn't even gentlemen sweep them. They had to celebrate on our logo, and we were just okay with that. You lost by 40. What the hell, man?
Yeah, 2 points to make here. First of all, the Knicks are not just that good, by the way. We have talent on this roster. That's what's frustrating. We talked about this in a previous series. I said that they have no urgency whatsoever. We saw it against the Raptors, we saw it against the Pistons, and now we saw it against the Knicks. They had too much talent to lose to those first two teams, but not for lack of trying. They both went to a game 7, and it's because we never looked like we had heart. There's one guy on that team, maybe two, that showed some heart and like they actually wanted it. The rest of them, like I don't put it on the team. The owner has done everything in his power to make this a championship team again. Like I don't know what to expect anymore. I've said this before and I don't think it's an overreaction, and I'm not saying trade him or anything like that. But Donovan Mitchell can't get it done. He's not a superstar enough to get it done. He's not a LeBron in his prime. He's not a KD in his prime. He's not any of that. He can't get it done. And the surrounding cast that he has clearly isn't enough.
No, and that's so frustrating because you talk about the star power on this roster. You talk about the depth. I mean, we've talked about the depth and the pieces that we have on this bench, for the regular season and whatnot, but it isn't enough. And really, it comes down to this for me, Erik. If you've shown at all once that you have quit with inside of you, if you have quit, you have the ability to not want to be there anymore, you're never going to win a championship. So the construction of this roster to me is chalked, and we have to go in a different direction. And I know we're going to get into that in a second after our ad break, but in the same time, this game is just so frustrating because of all the different storylines. I mean, think of how different this could have been. It feels so much like the J.R. Smith, I forgot what the score was moment in terms of the game one and how that turned out and how we ended up just losing this series outright. We didn't even get a win. We couldn't even get a win on a team that we felt pretty good about our chances. I felt like going into. We thought it was going to be a competitive series. We didn't even compete. We just showed up. We got a paycheck and we went home. That's all we did.
Yeah, we recorded this episode right after the Cavs loss, and that's yesterday, Monday on Memorial Day. And I've been thinking a lot today, obviously, about the sacrifice of the men and women in uniform that make this country free. And one of the things that I was thinking about in relation to this game are the Navy SEALs. They talk about how hard it is to join the SEALs. You know, they're the elite of the elite. What they look for, it's not the guys that are like super muscular or fit that pass. They look for the guys with no quit. They want to know that when the life is on the line, when the mission's on the line, you're going to die for that brother next to you. The Cavs have the quit. You're exactly right. Once it's in there, it's like a festering cancer. And like the core of this team can't be the same exact core next year because we're not going to go anywhere. And I know we're going to look ahead and talk about what changes need to be made, but I think it's wholesale at this point because this team will never win a championship as it stands.
As it currently constructed, no, we've reached our peak. We already saw it. Obviously, you reached your peak because you couldn't even get a game in the Eastern Conference Finals. You made it. Congratulations, you got over the hump. We've been talking about it all year. You made it, but that's all you did. You don't get a
Let me
banner, you don't get a ring for winning the Eastern Conference Finals. Or
let
even
me well
going, I should say.
I was going to say you get at least a banner for winning it. But yeah, for going nothing. Listen, I do want to ask the question. How different does this series look if we don't collapse in game 1? Because you have the momentum, you possibly steal a game 2 at that point. Like I'm not saying that's not against the odds, but how we lost, like I want to give a little credit to this team. They did get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I get it, like exactly what you're saying. This was never a finals win or bust team. The problem is that the East was particularly weak. It's been weak, and there was a window and a real pathway to a finals. And we did go up against a good team. But if we win that game 1, I think this looks completely different, and we're having a different conversation today.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. And I don't know if we win the series if we win game 1, right? But I do think it's a little bit more competitive. It is the exact type of collapse that ruins any chance you have. And I was afraid to say that on air because I didn't want to put that juju out in the air. But that was the first thing that came to my mind as soon as we were, down 10 in the overtime of that first. When you collapse that historically in a playoff series, it is really hard to flip that momentum, first of all, back in your favor, but also flip the mindset of that locker room back to being able to win. And obviously, we saw they couldn't do it. They didn't have the grit, they didn't have the heart, they didn't have the toughness. All they had was the damn quit.
Yeah, I want to look ahead and what's coming next, but first, I got to get your take on this Donovan Mitchell picture that he took with a Knicks fan prior to the game. He's rolling up in his convertible. It was decent weather, which is nice. Finally, it feels like summer a little bit. But he snaps a picture with a Knicks fan. I have my opinion on this, but I want to hear yours first.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the best look in the world, but to me, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's a nothing burger because it's frustrating and I know a lot of fans are frustrated, but like at the end of the day, he's a star, right? Like a star, he's a famous athlete. So of course he's getting pictures no matter what, getting asked for pictures, that is, no matter what team, no matter what support. That being said, in an elimination game with the city basically being taken over by Knicks fans right now, I was at the arena obviously as my do work for the team, and it was a Knicks home game, right? So it's not a good look in terms of what's going on with like your current series, but I also get why he did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm of two minds here. The first is that I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think context matters. I can't tell here. I assume that Donovan was stopped at a red light and this fan ran out. I hope. But this should be all business. You're at war right now. And that's my problem. We talked about they gave up. Like they gave up before they were even in the arena. You should be
Yeah.
at war though. You should hate blue and orange. You should be like chomping on the bit to get loose and go wild. And you're snapping pictures with their fans. Like it is a bad look, I gotta say. I know he's a New Yorker. I know he's a nice guy. And how dickish would it be if this fan came up, he's sitting at a red light and he's like, nah, man, F off. Like, I get it too, but I don't know. It's just bad timing, bad look.
Yeah, that's the catch 22, right? Like you don't want to be a dick at the end of the day, right? You don't want to be rude to someone, especially because they didn't really do anything to you. They're just a fan of their team. But at the same time, is it a mindset thing? Does it go back? I like to give Donovan Mitchell all the credit in the world for carrying. I mean, that clip went around of him yelling in the huddle of this game and being frustrated and looking like the only one that's scared. In years past, he's always been the one main person that I think we give credence and, remove from this quick conversation or this lack of heart conversation. But it doesn't help the narrative. It doesn't help what's going on with this Cavaliers team right now when you see things like this picture pop up on social media. And of course, it goes viral because of the context of it being a Knicks fan taking a picture with Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help that he goes ghost sometimes either. I do want to talk about the future of this team, what that looks like, and the changes that need to be made. But first, a word from our sponsor. At the Office is brought to you by Rambler Reserve.
And we're wearing the hats right now.
We are wearing the hats right now, and honestly, this might be one of the best looking things I've put on my head in years.
Rambler Reserve is a Cleveland apparel brand based on history for people who love this city and just can't shut up about it.
So, us?
Us, exactly. Whether it be hats, tees, hoodies, you're going to the game, or you're going to the Muni lot. It's perfect apparel for any Cleveland fan out there.
If your friends say you ramble too much about sports, just own it. Head on over to ramblerreserve.com and use code ATO10 to get 10% off your order.
That's ATO10. ATO like at the office 10, ramblerreserve.com.
I'm wearing the hat right now. I got to place a new order because they have so many hats that I want and other apparel too. I love that tie-in with history. So head on over to ramblerreserve.com and pick something up. Use our code to get that discount. Noah, I want to look forward and talk about, possibilities for next season, what this team looks like, what needs to be done, because I think a lot of changes need to be made.
I think a lot of fans are expecting changes, right? So let's start with a change that you already alluded to, and I think a lot of fans are calling for at this point. I don't know if I believe it's going to happen, but the head coaching change. I feel like that is a conversation a lot of people want to have because of the lack of rotations, the lack of being able to adjust to what's happening in the game. We've talked about it at length on the show.
Lack of a
Examples of
coherent offense.
Right, lack of being able to ride with momentum, all of that. So, in your change bucket, right, which is a weird way to put it, but in your bucket of change, right, are you putting the firing of Kenny Atkinson?
Probably, yeah. And here's why. We've seen a litany of Cavs coaches. Mike Brown just beat us. We saw a JB Bickerstaff who took us to 7 with, frankly, an inferior team. I don't care what the record said this year. We had more talent than that Pistons team. So we've seen these other coaches succeed. There's something about Cleveland, it seems like the coaching staff, I don't know, but what it comes down to, David Blatt could have won that game 1. And I think that says something about Kenny Atkinson. I've talked about it at length with the talent that we have, with what we're trying to do on the wings, the fact that we go and stand around, play ISO ball majority of the time. We don't need to do that. We talk about defense tightening up during the playoffs, and that's all true. We don't have to play ISO ball like that, though. The Warriors, I mean, they were constantly moving off ball, setting picks during their run, and getting open because of it. And granted, much better shooting team than the Cavs, don't get me wrong. And we did some of that, but then we go away from it. When Evan Mobley is dominating in the paint in the first half, I'm talking about game 3 now, and then you completely go away from that, and he's bringing the ball down half the time like a point guard and standing beyond the arc, taking threes. Like, once in a while, a pop-out Evan Mobley 3 is fine with me. Running your offense like that is starting to piss me off. So that lies at Kenny Atkinson, and I think the answer is yes, you've got to move on from him. Now, what that looks like and who you replace him with, I don't know right now, but he's not it.
Yeah, so I have a statistic just to co-sign what you're saying. The Cavs finished the regular season 13th in three-point percentage. They ranked 15th in three-point percentage post All-Star break. They just are not a good enough three-point shooting team to rely on the three as heavily as they do in the offense that Kenny Atkinson runs. You make another great point talking about Evan Mobley moving away from him in game 3. This is all stuff I agree with. I don't know if there's a great answer out there. I know the Jason Kidd conversation is one that a lot of people like to have. Obviously, a popular name just got fired from Dallas. Johnny Bryant in the building could potentially be a head coach candidate if they're trying to do the retool. We're not trying to shake up everything type of thought process. I don't know if I love that. There's a bunch of different names out there that we can talk about. And if Kenny gets fired, and if Kenny's fired by the time you're watching this or by the time this video goes out, then obviously we will have more videos diving in and talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers head coaching search because it's an important conversation to have. But I think I'm with you that he needs to go because when it comes to the most important part of the season, the postseason, he was not up to snuff. He was not a good coach. He was not a coach of the year candidate like he was, the year before when he won it. That's just the hard facts of this right now. And on top of the fact of his stupid, we won 2 out of these 3 games analytically comment or whatever that we saw the other night. Yeah, that is the all-time worst look to that you could ever have as one of the main talking heads of a of a franchise. I'm getting frustrated.
You said it best when you texted me. You said that's a Kevin Stefanski move, and I don't disagree with that. Yeah, I'm agreeing with everything you're saying. I think he does need to go. And listen, the fact is, like, I don't know what the conditioning was. Our 2 previous series went 7 games, so I know our guys were tired. And what happens when you get tired? I mean, you and I have played basketball together. When we're huffing and puffing out there, you start yakking up threes and shots because you don't want to drive the lane anymore. You're too tired. So I don't know
Right.
how much of that played a factor, but they'd come down and they don't get into their offensive sets, and it was extremely frustrating to watch. So Kenny Atkinson gone. We both sign off on that. The next guy that I've got to bring up, one, LeBron James. We got to talk about it because he's ending his career, obviously. He seems willing to take the veteran minimum, like you see up there, reported by Jake Fisher. Uh, I think that this is a fit that makes so much sense. Obviously, it's going to come down to, does LeBron want to come home? I saw some reporting the other day that was talking about how this could affect his legacy, meaning if he comes home and does not win the finals, he tarnishes his legacy in 2016. I don't agree with that at all, frankly.
Neither do I.
Um, like, not even a little bit, but he is a piece that would fit into this current team pretty well. By the way, bringing in LeBron, I'm shipping James Harden somewhere else.
Well, so there was the report that he would may take the veterans minimum, and then Jake Fisher also said he's not considering taking the veterans minimum. So there's a little bit of a duality when it comes to the reporting, and even though it's from the same source, right? And we saw both of those tweets go viral. I would welcome him with open arms at this point. It's not going to be a ruining of the chemistry or whatever. Some of the conversations we had about, well, it still needs to be Donovan Mitchell's team or all of that. No, LeBron could come here. He can play some LeBron ball and he can do what he needs to do because at the end of the day, I do think adding him to this current roster in it and of itself will make this team better and could put them over the hump to get at least one ring in this iteration of some sort moving forward. You talk about shipping off James Harden. I was going to push us forward to some of the smaller talks before we get to the LeBron and Giannis's of the
Okay,
world.
I see.
Um, which is fine because obviously we were going to touch on it anyway. James Harden all but already said in the media in the post media scrum that he will be back with the Cavaliers next year. I think that's going to be true, whether you like it, whether you hate watching him play, whatever you feel about James Harden after this playoff experience. I think he will be a Cleveland Cavalier next year, no matter what. I do think he's going to take a little bit of a pay cut to have a longer term deal because if he opts into his player option, it's like 40 some million right now. If he opts out and takes a longer deal, the pro to that is he gets more money over long term despite what happens on the court and despite his play, despite his age, which in turn could also be a good thing for the Cleveland Cavaliers because we're only about $4 to $6 million above the second apron right now. If we take $4 to $6 million off of that James Harden deal, we don't have to worry, even though I think people will get traded, worry about, trading people to get under that second apron. We'll already be under it and then kind of can maneuver in that way moving forward, whether we do need to move some of these bigger contracts or not.
I think this playoff series showed us that James Harden can't be relied upon to be the old James Harden Maybe we can re-sign him if we put in the contract it's completely null and void if he takes a single three-pointer. I don't know if we could fit that in or not. Listen, he had decent games at times, but the turnovers were a big issue. There's no indication that he's going to fix that moving forward. When you bring in LeBron and a facilitator, his role kind of shrinks anyway. I liked when Harden and Donovan were playing opposite one another and coming off the bench opposite one another. I think that works in a way, but I just don't think it makes sense. Predicating on us bringing in a guy like LeBron is what I'm talking about. It doesn't make sense for me to keep James Harden.
But are they going to? What do you think's actually going to happen? Not what you would do, but what's actually going to happen. He's staying in Cleveland. He's going to be a Cavalier for the next 2 years, in my opinion.
My guess, and I'm being completely honest here, I think they're going to try to work some other things up while they're working on that deal. I don't think pen will be to paper first thing this summer. James Harden might want that to happen, but I think the Cavs are going to do their due diligence and try to figure out some things before locking that in.
Well, my thing too is obviously James Harden waived his no trade clause to come here. So I think it was with the understanding that he will have a longer term deal and a future with whatever team he ended up with. We were the team he ended up with at the trade deadline. That was part of the sticking points with the Clippers, right? And that's how that situation didn't blow up like it typically does with James Harden. He just wanted, a longer term commitment at the
Yeah,
end of his career.
I think he wants to be here, but if it's not in the best interest of this organization to re-sign him, no matter what they said, then you don't.
Let's turn it to Spida because as of July 7th, Donovan Mitchell becomes contract extension eligible, basically. He can sign a contract extension. Now, if he doesn't this summer, it's still not the end of the world if you're in the keep James Harden, Jesus, keep Donovan Mitchell no matter what boat, like many Cavs fans are, because he still has 2 years on his deal. And it makes more sense for Donovan to sign in the second year and, push for a no trade clause, more money, blah, 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 blah. Do you think that the Cavs should extend Donovan Mitchell? Do you think he still should 110% be a part of the Cleveland Cavaliers moving forward?
I am very conflicted on this one, to be completely honest. I'm not a Donovan hater. I like Donovan Mitchell, but his size and his style of game as he ages, he's not a spring chicken anymore, worry me about giving him a max extension. The problem is we're in a bit of a catch-22 when it comes to Donovan Mitchell because I don't know who you're going to replace him with. That's the issue, right? Like you can't just ship him off. Obviously, if he shows no indication of re-signing, you have to consider trading him. But I don't know who you get a value that takes us to the Eastern Conference Finals again. Despite, the poor showing there, he is still one of the stars of this league. So I tend to hedge towards yes, re-sign him. But I'm really conflicted on it.
Okay. And my follow up to that is if you're in the boat of re-sign Donovan, keep Donovan, which is where I think I'm at on this situation as well. Do you think that there's any chance that we see Donovan Mitchell try to request out? It's I don't think in the cards. I don't think Donovan Mitchell is that kind of star. I think he does truly love and enjoy Cleveland, but I could also understand seeing his favorite team growing up beat him in the Eastern Conference Finals, frustrate him to a point with the lack of effort that his teammates showed in that game 4, that maybe he wants a change of scenery. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm not saying I think it'll happen, but I'm saying I could see it happening in a world.
I don't think he'll request out to answer your question. No to that. What I think he could do, and I wouldn't be surprised if he did, is not re-sign that extension and basically make it clear that, he wants to move on once his contract is up. Of course, the Cavs wouldn't be in their best interest. They would begin trade discussions immediately at that point. Um, I don't know about the New York situation, and I think obviously a lot depends on how these finals go. But these guys do worry about legacy, and though Donovan Mitchell's legacy right now is getting to one conference finals and losing it, KD's legacy is absolute trash because he went to the Warriors. So joining a team that potentially is about to win the finals is not a good look, and I think that's something that could be considered. Obviously, that home tie-in does matter, so we'll see on that. And I don't know how New York could even pull that off. If they could pull that off, I'm not sure. Um,
I want to be abundantly clear. I was not predicting and doing the national media thing of Donovan Mitchell should go to the Knicks. I was just using the example of us getting beat by the Knicks as a reason Donovan Mitchell might be frustrated. I
well,
was
he's
not
from
trying.
there though. I mean, if you talk about moving on, like that's a strong pull. It's a strong pull to get LeBron back here, being from here. I think that
Yeah.
does matter as a factor. So I get what you're saying. Um, my gut says that he'll re-sign with the Cavs if the Cavs want him to. If they offer him a max deal, I think he takes it. And I think he stays a Cleveland Cavalier.
Yeah, I'm with you in that. And let's get to the last crazy. Well, I guess it's not even crazy because it's all been confirmed that these trade rumors have validity to them. There was conversations had. The Bucks reportedly reached out to the Cavs in February and asked for Evan Mobley for Giannis, but Cleveland said no. And there's different iterations of this trade and everything that are out there with like draft picks being involved, maybe Darius Garland at one point before we dealt him, like Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, that is. But the centerpiece being Giannis for Evan Mobley with whatever other moving parts on each side that need to go into that to make it work. Do you think we're going to see this trade come to fruition now? Or do you think that this is just one of those ones that, go in the could have been basket?
Do I think it comes to fruition? No, I honestly don't. Do I want it to come to fruition? Yes, I do. I think that it's past time that we keep saying Evan Mobley can be that guy. If he fixes X part of his game, if he does this, he shows flashes in a quarter. That's great, but that's not winning us anything. The Cavs are a win now organization right now. And if we regret it down the line getting rid of Evan Mobley, he goes off to become a superstar. I'll live with that if it means we're fighting for another finals appearance and win. I'm fine with that. We're not winning it with him right now. He's too soft. He disappears. Maybe it's coaching, but I don't think it is. So I would take the deal, but I don't think the deal will happen.
So I was in the same boat as you, but what I've seen out of Evan Mobley, and I know you're going to disagree with me, but I believe it to be true. Period. I think he was our most consistent player in this playoff run, above Donovan Mitchell, above James Harden, above Jared Allen in terms of consistency, going out there and taking care of business. He did that way more often than any other player on this roster. I also think that not Donovan Mitchell. I also think that Evan Mobley showed that there is still a lot to be grown and a lot to be had there. I want to remind everybody, I know it's frustrating, but he's only 24. Normally we talk about primes being in the 27 years. And I know the argument is the win now window, right? I just don't know if trading Evan Mobley is really truly going to be the best thing for this team when you talk about Giannis always being hurt and you talk about some of the other pieces and parts that you might have to move. Say you want to keep a role player like Max Strus, for example, but they want him to sweeten the deal to make it go through. There's
Ship him.
just so many. I know that's where you're at, but I think that there's a lot more that goes into this, and it could be a lot better of a choice for us to keep Evan Mobley than it is to trade for another aging star.
You can't say on the one hand, this team won't win a championship, and then on the other hand say, don't take the swing because I like him too much. He could be a star. He's been a little consistent for us. That doesn't make any sense, in my opinion. You've got to make radical changes if you want to win the finals. And if we're in a win now window, which I truly believe we are, and the Cavs will be for the next several years, you can't say, well, in 3 years, he's going to be that guy. Well, in 3 years, Donovan Mitchell either A, won't be here, or B, is starting to age out of his star window. So, like, you can't have it both ways, in my opinion. That's the problem. I think you got to take big swings. If they're big misses, then you live with that. You live with those consequences. But you got to take big swings because the ultimate goal is to win a championship, and you're just not doing it with this roster.
Right. In a perfect world, this is how it would go in my mind, right? Uh, you add LeBron, that's your big move, right? You add him, hopefully he takes the vet minimum, whatever happens there happens. That's your
Mhm.
big move of the offseason. You retool the bench, you get a real backup center, you get a lot of these pieces and parts that I think we've argued about and talked about as fans, as us on the show that we need an actual small forward coming off of the bench as well. But we don't have that small forward, that true small forward on this team. We haven't had it since LeBron and Kevin Love and whatnot. I think that's where my heart lies with this, as opposed to trading for an aging star, signing another aging star. So now you have James Harden, who's older and out of his prime. You have LeBron James, who had a great year, but is still, old. He's 40 plus. And then you also add Giannis, who's getting older and is also always hurt. That's where I think it lands for me. Now, if you ask me what I think the Cleveland
Giannis is
Cavaliers,
31, by the way. I
right?
mean, he's not that old.
You ask me what I think the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to do. As of like last week, the Cavs have no interest in a Mobley for Giannis trade as of now. What do I think the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to do post being swept in the Eastern Conference Finals and becoming the laughing stock that we were, whether it be because there was Knicks fans in our arena, whether it's because Charles Barkley took shots at us at halftime of the game about us quitting, whether it looked like we had no effort in the Eastern Conference Finals, whatever you want to say. I think they're going to go all in on every single one of these moves. I think they're going to try to sign LeBron. I think they're going to try to trade for Giannis. I think they're going all in. They're going all for it one last time, maybe 2 years max because of age. And that's how it's going to go. And if they regret it, they regret it. I think they're going to go with your mindset over mine. I don't know if I love that, but, I'll also get excited for the Greek Freak to be a Cav if that's actually what happens.
I would buy the jersey. Do you not think, though, Giannis, LeBron, Donovan, Jared Allen, and then, I don't know, hell, even James Harden, you don't think that's a good team or could be a good team?
It's a good team on 2K. I have a lot of spacing issues concerned with that. You pairing a center like Jared Allen with Giannis in the post is a nightmare to me. You need a spacing big in the post, and then of course you'll say, "Well, we could get rid of Jared Allen and get a spacing big if that's what you
Well,
want to do."
I don't want to get rid of Jared Allen in that case. I do want to sign somebody like Kobe White, though. I think we need to improve our bench. He's probably going to take 50 plus million, so I don't know if it's realistic. But a guy that shot like 39% from three, I think would be huge. I think he averaged like 15 points a game. That would be somewhere I want to talk about. I mean, you talk about Strus. I love Strus for his heart. But you can't have guys on this team anymore that when they're wide open, they miss the open look three. Sam Merrill had a great game and then he fell off the face of the planet. And I'm not saying blow everybody up. Like I get it. It's unrealistic, but I hope that you're right in saying that I could be right in what the Cavs are going to do. Follow that logic because again, like we've seen now what's not going to work and we've got to do anything we can to make it work. I have a small fear in me. And that fear is when LeBron was here the second time and we were doing the same thing. We were bringing in guys like D Wade and Shaq at one point was here. And like, we just brought in this litany of players past their prime to try to like help LeBron out. I don't want us to get into that situation. And I don't think we will. I think Giannis, I think the injury history is a little overwrought at this point. I think he'll be back. No problem. Obviously he was injured this past year. But he's one of the best players in the league. Like, let's not forget, he basically won a championship on his own up there. So we know that Evan Mobley will never reach the level of Giannis. Like, never, period. Like, that's not his ceiling. The ceiling is much lower. And so I think we do everything we can to make and win the finals.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the mindset of, Dan Gilbert and whatever's left of the front office. If they go that route, we didn't even talk about Kobe Altman. I don't think he's going to get the axe though, because I don't think roster construction is going to be the reason for the blame of the losses, right? I think it's going to come down to coaching and retool, whatever that looks
Well,
like.
he's
Uh,
president now too, so I can't imagine that they get rid of him.
Right, but he's still, I know he's not the GM, but he still acts in terms of that role and whatnot. So I think we're going to be in for an exciting summer in terms of changes for this Cleveland Cavaliers roster. I just think that's where it's at. I think they're going to be in that window of wanting to win it all, of wanting to push all the chips even further in than they did with just the James Harden for Darius Garland trade. I think you can look at that as an example of what they're willing to do and what they might be willing to shake up and do with this roster in terms of trying to get one ring, or maybe two rings, but one ring out of whatever iteration of this Cleveland Cavaliers roster we have right now, whatever you want to call it, the core four era, whatever that is in your mind. I think that they're going to do it this offseason. Now, is it going to be as drastic as like LeBron and Giannis? Maybe it doesn't end up needing to be that drastic and they feel good about it. But those are the biggest names in terms of what has been floating in the ether for some time here. And I know we kind of kept kicking the can down the road in fairness to the playoff run we're in now, but that abruptly ended. And now we're moving forward to a potential new era for the Cleveland Cavaliers, whether that be is a rebuild, a retool, run it back. I don't think either of us think that. Whatever it is, I'm ready to see what they decide to do this offseason.
Well, I'll finish with this. 2016 was 10 years ago. If we leverage the next 10 years for one more ring, I think that's a win. Like one ring, to say, 10, if we sell the farm for that ring, I'm totally fine with that. Like that's your ultimate goal in sports. Think of what you would give to have one ring with the Browns, one ring with the Guardians. Like I make that deal 10 times out of 10. So I guess we'll see. It's going to be an interesting offseason, of course. This one will haunt us for a little while. I'm a little less hot now at the end of the episode, so I will say now, subscribe, like this video, give us a call, leave us a voicemail. We'll play it on air. I want to hear what you think the Cavs should do this offseason. 216-260-3433. Noah, it's been fun. I mean, this series wasn't, but it's been fun overall.
Yeah, it has indeed. I'm, again, just really interested and really excited to see what the Cleveland Cavaliers do moving forward with this roster, because change is needed, whether it's the coach, whether it's star players, role players. Obviously, change is needed after the performance we saw in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I'm ready to sit here and cover it with you all summer. So let's get into it, right?
All right. Well, we still have the guards and we have more Browns content coming up soon. For now, the debate never ends, but the show does. We'll see you next time.